Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MYH podcast. This one's a little bit different. We're not in the studio and we're not at Tom's house where we used to do it. I'm actually here with Simon O'Rourke today, and we met a few weeks ago. Well, it was actually back in June at the Hillhead show. Simon carved a big eagle for Case, and that was then auctioned off, and the money that was raised through that went towards the Lighthouse Club. So that's where we met. We did a little interview there, which I've got a video coming out in a couple of weeks for that. And we said, let's get together and do a podcast, and this is it. So I've come down to his amazing workshop today. So you might hear a little bit of noise in the background, a little bit of working, and a little bit of general day-to-day workshop life. But Simon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing us to come down to your amazing workshop. And I had a look round before. There's some pretty special stuff here.
There's some interesting bits here, yeah, definitely. Tend to find the bits that hang around in the workshop are either the bits that I've made at a show and haven't sold
Yeah,
because they're a bit too specialist.
yeah, yeah,
Or, the shows I find a great excuse to just do something that I want to do.
yeah,
Um, and the competitions and things
yeah.
are great for that. So yeah, there's quite a few bits which haven't sold.
Yeah, so we met at the Hillhead show,
Yeah.
and you did that amazing eagle for them.
Mm.
And that seemed to go quite well. I think it was very popular with people. There was always a crowd around you.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, it was a great show. Really hot.
Yeah, it was.
It was like a desert in that
White
forest.
stone everywhere, just
Yeah,
blaring back up at you.
yeah. But it was a great show. Really good atmosphere, I thought, and yeah, I really enjoyed myself
Good.
there. Um, I I just really annoyed with myself afterwards because I set up a time lapse camera. I put it on top of one of the machines and went and left it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Haven't been able to get back in touch with Case to try and get it back. So I've got this time lapse camera that I was gutted about that, but never mind.
there'll be a plant fitter going to do a bit of work on that machine or clean it or something.
Yeah.
We've got. But has the sculpting been part of your career all the way through, or is it something that just developed and you grew into it?
Kind of developed. So I suppose my background in a nutshell was I was always into art. I
Mm,
did art through school, and really that was the way I wanted to go. And when I went to uni, it was to do illustration.
okay.
So I specialised in children's book illustration. Loved that. Really liked it. Got on really well with it, but there aren't any jobs
Yeah,
as such
yeah,
in the illustration world. So you kind of have to make your own way. And I wasn't ready to start my own business.
mm,
During my third year in uni, however, I got to know a guy who just started his own tree surgery business. And to make a little bit of money in my final year, I just worked some Saturdays for him, dragging brash and feeding the chipper and things like that. And I started to really enjoy being outdoors.
yeah,
I was finding it did me so much better than like sitting in a studio all day
yeah,
drawing or painting. So after I left uni, I needed full-time work, and I chatted to him, and he said, "Well, I'm just about ready to take someone on.
yeah,
So if you want to come on, this is what I can offer you." And uh, I took it and started doing all my qualifications as a tree surgeon. Absolutely loved it.
yeah,
Uh, there's the inevitable day when you don't like it, when it's
yeah,
raining on a
yeah,
Friday afternoon,
yeah, yeah,
and you're like, just want to get home
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly.
Just need to go home. So, but overall, I really enjoy being outdoors. Love the work. So my art was on the back burner.
Yeah,
It was a case of, I'm not gonna worry too much about that. If something happens, something happens. But I'm enjoying this, and
yeah,
there is actually relatively decent career
yeah.
prospects in tree surgery. So it wasn't until I'm trying to remember when it was now. It would have been about 2001. I saw somebody carving with a chainsaw, and it was like I was like a light bulb moment
Yeah.
for me. I was like, "Ooh, ooh." Hang on, I can draw and I
Yeah.
can use a chainsaw. So
Winner, winner.
yeah, so I got my boss, the guy I was working for, said, feel free to have a play with. There's loads of lumps of firewood and stuff in the yard. We bring logs home occasionally. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
And I started doing that. Managed to sell a couple of pieces and uh, started to kind of get quite good at it.
Yeah.
So having the art background helped, but
Yeah.
then trying to convert my head from 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions was actually quite a task.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my sort of biggest learning point really. Um, but started to get my head around that. Got invited to a show, Woodfest Wales, and that was in 2003, and that was my first introduction to other chainsaw carvers on the
Yeah.
scene, and quickly realised this was an amazing community
Yeah.
of carvers. Got to know them. The internet's just really starting to come into its own. Then
Yeah.
there's forums out. You can post pictures and
Yeah.
see what other people have done and things like that. So started to get to know people through that, and then got invited to the very first UK based international competition. They had 50 carvers there from around the world. It was held over in Sandringham. The guy I was doing tree surgery for said, well, look, you know, I can't afford to pay you to go
Yeah.
because everything had been done through him.
Yeah.
I can't afford to pay you to go, but if you want to go, borrow the chainsaws,
Yeah.
borrow some fuel, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
You make
Yeah.
your own way there. And uh, like I spent however long it was driving over to Sandringham, got myself set up. Absolute baptism of fire.
Yeah.
Americans,
Yeah.
Canadians, Australian, Germany. All loads of different countries
Yeah.
represented there. From some of these guys who are like super, you know, really advanced level
Yeah.
compared to what I felt I was. And I ended up placing third.
Oh, really?
So it was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point, so that was then September 2004. And that was my kind of turning point,
Yeah.
if you like,
Yeah.
of my, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm
Yeah.
going to make this into my own business. And so yeah, January 2005, went part time on the business. Went down to 3 days a week tree surgery, and I just did that. And it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
So by January '07, I was able to go full time,
Right.
and this is all I've been doing ever
Right.
since. So managed to, yeah,
Your
make a living.
reputation has built your business.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's so yeah, as you can imagine, running your own business for that long is quite intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Especially around
Um,
2007, there was the recession the next year, wasn't there, in
yeah, that's right.
2008,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which was a pretty deep one. I
Oh,
remember that one quite well.
that in fact, that was a another bit of a turning point because my business had got to the point where I'm not the most organized of people.
Yeah.
That's not my strength.
Yeah.
Numbers, accountancy, figures, anything like that,
Yeah.
that's not my strength. So I started to find I was double booking and triple booking myself, and
Yeah.
I really desperately needed help,
Yeah.
somebody else on it. And Liz had just, she was a community development worker at the time,
Okay.
and she her job had just been cut in half.
Right.
Essentially, her job had been turned into a job share,
Right. Okay.
and um, I basically said to her, I know it's a bit of a jump, but why don't you just come work with me,
Yeah,
and we'll try and run this thing together
yeah.
and make sure, I'm not.
We're not skint.
Yeah, and I'm not staying, I'm able to stay organized. So that essentially that was that point there where we, halved the income and doubled the mortgage.
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
those crazy decisions you make in
Yeah,
life, and but it worked out.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, and obviously since then it's been uh, uh,
had its
some
challenges.
has had some big challenges. Yeah, um, I mean we've we since then we kind of we've been in a couple of different locations.
Right,
Um, we got invited to come and have space on this farm. It must be 12 years ago now,
right.
and uh, it was at first it was in a corner of the big shed.
Yeah,
Then it was in the old pigsties. Then it was, that was falling down, so that
yeah,
had to be dismantled. Then we moved around the back of the farm into a lean-to, and it's like it was constantly sort of fairly exposed.
yeah,
Wasn't really properly
yeah,
weatherproof for so long. And then they they expanded the farm,
yeah,
and invested in a new shed
yeah,
that they said, okay, you can effectively have this shed.
yeah,
All we need in it is a chemical store and the milk tank. So, like,
yeah,
the rest of it's yours. Okay, the rent went up, but
yeah, yeah,
I'm quite happy with that because we've got a 60 by 60
yeah. You've
shed.
got a real good space.
Amazing space, three
It's
phase.
high as well.
Yeah, really high. Yeah, a little space for a gallery area
Yeah,
here, and an office that we've put up here, and it's just an amazing place to work in. But it's allowed me to expand a bit more, and it's
yeah,
allowed me to take somebody on.
yeah.
So I've got Paul working with me full time now, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a wild roller coaster journey.
But you've loved every minute of it.
Well, actually, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
There's been times when I've turned around to Liz and said, "Do you know what? I'm just going to go and get a factory job.
yeah. I absolutely know
I
that
want
feeling.
somebody else to
Yeah,
deal with my, you know, life at this point
yeah,
in time." And I think that's what everybody goes through points like that, don't
yeah,
they?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's when you have points like that, it makes you realize when you do have the highs, you appreciate them a lot more
yeah,
because you think, actually, it's going all right. This,
yeah,
this,
yeah,
this, this. I'm doing what I want
yeah,
in a space that I love, in an environment that I love with people that I love
yeah,
working with.
yeah. Definitely, definitely.
And it can be tasking sometimes, absolutely. But I think we need little bits of stress and little bits of that to help us stay focused on the task we have in hand because I don't know about you, Simon, but sometimes I can get a bit laid back with it. And if I haven't got that bit of pressure there to keep
Yes.
me in line, I'm like, oh shit, I need to do this and I need to get on with this and I need to get that done.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's those little challenges that push you
Yeah,
to the next level.
yeah,
Um, and also it's realizing your own limitations
yeah,
because 10 years ago wouldn't think twice about doing 6 days straight
yeah,
with the chainsaws and
yeah,
like bring something out, and it was like the adrenaline's going, and
yeah,
you've got all sorts of stuff happening, and but um it it took, I'll explain a bit more about it in a minute, but it took until um I think was it 2020 or no, it was 2021 that, yeah, getting towards the end of 2020,
Yeah.
I realised that I'd got to a point where I realised I'd pushed myself too
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
um, but you know, other than sort of that, uh, there's been points before when I've realised that I've, you know, maybe I shouldn't have booked that job in
Yeah.
straight after a show.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm coming back from a 3 day intense carving to have half a day's worth of getting the truck sorted out to then shoot off to another job at the others. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's, uh, it's that realizing that you need space in between projects
Yeah.
in the diary,
Yeah.
that's been my biggest learning curve.
Yeah.
So always like seeing an empty space in the diary and think, oh, I could do that then. I could
This,
do that then.
this is
So
it. It's learning to prioritize your time
yeah,
and taking that downtime. And now that you've learned from it, and hopefully now moving forward, you set yourself up for that
yeah,
ra-
definitely,
rather
yeah.
than because I've definitely fallen
Mm,
into that trap because I've come from the environment of work, 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 work all the time.
mm,
And you think, oh yeah, I can go and do a Hillhead show, for example, and then I can go and lay a load of bricks, and then I can go and do podcast recording. But it's only Monday to Friday, and
mm.
you do the shows, and you know just
Yeah,
as much as me, they are really intense. You're talking to people all the time, you're giving
yeah,
information out, you're
mm,
doing this, and then obviously you're concentrating on the carving that you're doing as well.
yeah, yeah,
It it's physically demanding and mentally demanding all the
yeah.
time.
And this is it. And I know up until I kind of had my breakdown at um January 2021, I call that, you know what it's like. It's never a particular point,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah. It's a slow
It's a
burn.
build up
Yeah,
and then something cracks,
yeah,
But like leading up to that point, there's a huge amount of stuff that's gone in on and in both of our lives in the past that's kind of led to a point of, okay, I can't take this anymore.
yeah,
And it's like my wife and I have been through several rounds of IVF, and it's like got to the point where it was like, okay, this isn't going to happen.
yeah,
Where do we go from here? And you find you're lost.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Your kind of purpose has gone. And all of that like intense stuff that you've been building up to for a
yeah,
long time stops.
yeah,
Like, and it's almost like, you know, uh, it took me a while, I think, for that to kick in to the point of me feeling like all my drive was just gone,
yeah,
you know. Um, so, and I remember I came back after the Christmas break
yeah.
in,
21.
January 21, and I was, Paul was saying, he said you were wandering around the workshop and you just did not know what you were doing.
Yeah, yeah,
I just said, I can't do this. Um, and right through the previous year, I've been uh, I'd done this business coaching thing where this guy was trying to help me to get the business to the next level,
yeah,
and it was like that was really intense in itself
yeah,
because you said, oh yeah, you need to look at your KPIs and keep an eye on the bottom line, and I want you to write down all the leads that you get, where they've come from, did they go anywhere, what are the percentages of that, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm
yeah,
going to do it. It's like it just got to the point where I was like, I can't keep
yeah,
doing
yeah,
this, and I was leading a business networking group, so I
yeah,
was, on Zoom because
yeah,
of COVID,
yeah,
I was being the putting a face on every Wednesday
yeah,
morning, Thursday morning, or whatever it was, and just trying to be somebody who wasn't.
yeah. Absolutely.
And under the surface, it was just like it was this quivering mass of I just need to stop.
Yeah,
So yeah, it got to that point. Liz said, "Get yourself some help."
yeah,
And in fact, she called the doctor
Yeah.
and passed the phone to me,
Yeah.
and just I'd got to the point leading up to that where
Yeah.
I'd been pretty suicidal at points.
Really.
I'd really, and uh, yeah, alcohol and antidepressants,
Yeah.
but it had actually got to the point of, I'd uh, for some reason red wine was just making me even more depressive
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it got to the point of me opening the front door to walk down to the aqueducts near us, and you know,
Yeah.
so and I hadn't talked to anybody about it, hadn't kind of known how,
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the biggest sort of things, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not knowing how to broach the
Yeah.
subject with somebody. Um, we've all got mates who say, oh, if you're feeling,
Yeah.
just let me know, tell
Yeah.
me, talk to me about it. But it's one thing saying that, or even knowing somebody's willing
Yeah.
uh, to, and to actually pick up the phone when
Yeah.
you're in that position.
And sometimes you don't want your friends and family know what you're going
No,
through.
exactly.
It because you feel like you're putting a burden on them and passing on
Yeah,
what you're feeling to them. And
yeah.
it's like my wife goes mad at me all the time because she's like, "Well, why didn't you tell me about that?" I'm like,
Mm,
"You'll try and solve the problem, and I don't need you to do that.
yeah,
I need you to just listen to me, or somebody to listen to me,
yeah,
and talk it out." And it can be very difficult approaching your own family
yeah.
because as much as we both know it's not embarrassing and it's not a stigma, there still is all that surrounding it.
Yeah, there is definitely, and especially as we were chatting earlier on, the
Yeah,
construction
yeah,
industry and the ARB
yeah.
industry, it's such a
Match,
macho
yeah,
kind of environment, isn't
yeah,
it? And it's like depending on who you're working for
yeah,
or whatever, it can be quite toxic,
yeah,
and it's really yeah, it's difficult to turn around and go, I'm not okay.
yeah,
And especially to kind of admit
yeah,
that
yeah,
um, uh, when it's not something physical.
yeah,
A mate of mine put it really well. He said your mind is just like one of your muscles.
yeah,
If it gets overstretched
yeah,
and strained,
yeah,
it's as debilitating
yeah,
as you know breaking your leg,
yeah,
and you need to give yourself time to fix it.
absolutely.
Um,
Because you never ever switch your mind off.
no, you don't.
Whether
You don't.
it's whether it is work related or whether it's
Mm,
stuff going on at home or driving or whatever you're doing in your life, you're constantly using your mind. And I say to people a lot, it's a very similar to what your friend said that I'm like, if you went to the gym and did bicep curls all day, your
mm.
biceps will be knackered.
Yeah,
You won't be able to pick up your bottle of water to drink. So it's so important to give your mind that rest and
mm,
learning to switch off and do that. And
yeah,
a lot of the time, especially running your own business, running all the other community stuff that you were doing, and people seeing you a pillar of the community, you can't switch off. You
yeah,
can't. You don't want to show. I don't know about you. I used to be petrified to think that people, if I start talking about what I'm feeling, people think, well, if Bob can't look after his own emotions, he can't do this and he can't do that and he can't
yeah,
look
yeah,
after
yeah,
he can't have that responsibility. And it wasn't until I started talking about it that I realised that, actually, people do understand and they do listen, they do
yeah,
see your strength in what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
It can be very difficult to make that first step to start
Yes,
talking.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, 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 definitely.
So
Um,
you spoke to the doctor and then you started to get a bit of help and did you start to notice that it was having a positive effect on your life?
yeah, definitely. Uh, they put me on antidepressants.
Yeah,
At the time, um, I was worried about income because
yeah,
obviously it's like what I do physically is a major part of the
Yeah.
company's income,
Yeah.
So that in itself can be a massive pressure,
Yeah.
especially if because the bigger your business gets, the more overheads you get,
Yeah.
and it's like a perpetual kind of
Yeah.
thing. You always think, oh no, I'm just making more profit. No, you're not. You just
Yeah.
you're increasing the amount of spending,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah.
so it that in itself being a big pressure made me feel that I wasn't allowed to stop,
Yeah.
and but it had to get to that point for me of I physically cannot work because if I pick up a chainsaw and try and create this sculpture, um, because with sculpture, it's not just about the physical aspect. You're mentally
Yeah.
calculating depth and
Yeah.
structure and I can't overcut that bit because his arm's going to be there, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's
You've got to
quite
be 15 stages ahead of yourself all the time.
yeah, yeah. So it's quite intense mentally, and there's just no way that I could physically or mentally compute that
Yeah.
because my brain had just gone into shutdown mode, and so I ended up taking. I think I took 2 months off.
Yeah.
Um, Went on antidepressants and started getting some counselling,
Yep.
and that that made a big difference. And um, yeah, but what I've realised, funnily enough, right at this point in time, I'm actually thinking I'm at the stage where I probably need to go and get some counselling again
Okay.
because
You
actually
can feel it.
you can feel it. It's like a
Yeah.
pressure at the
Yeah.
back of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
head,
Yeah.
and because I've done that thing where I'm filling the diary,
Yeah.
and then unless it's enforced or
Yeah.
unless it's organised for me,
Yeah.
then that time off isn't happening.
Yeah.
I believe it.
It's great to, well, it sounds fabulous, but it's great to hear that you're recognizing
Yes.
that you're getting to that point.
Yeah.
And again, don't beat yourself up that you feel like, oh, I've let myself get to that point,
Yeah.
because it's really important to remember that with mental health, it's not like you do 10 sessions of counseling, whatever treatment is, complete mental health. That's
Fixed.
it.
Yeah.
I fixed it. It's not like that. It's not like when your chainsaw breaks down and it's this particular part you fix it and it's good to
Yeah.
go. It becomes a way of life,
Yeah.
and it's learning to manage and balance
Yeah.
your work life, your home life, your time for you and things like that. And that's why it's really, really important to recognize those signs. And it's great
Mm.
work on your part that you are recognizing these signs
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can do something proactive about it
Yeah.
before it gets to the point. And I say to people all the time that you might need a couple of days off, but a couple of days off is better than 2 months off.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to
Take that
say,
time for you.
yeah. And like I say, leaving that space between projects. I
Yeah,
mean, okay, I've got that luxury. It's like somebody who's in a full-time job
yeah,
that's managed for them
yeah,
doesn't necessarily get that
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Um, but you know, a bit less profit and more space between projects equals
exactly.
much happier down
Yeah,
the line, and
exactly.
that's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
it's good to you can look at your bank balance and think, yeah, my bank balance looks really good, but I'm not really good.
Yeah,
I,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm on the edge here, and is it really worth it?
Mm,
Is how much money is your life worth?
mm, mm.
And it's really great to hear that you're putting these positive boundaries in your life,
Yeah.
making those changes. It was allowing you to do these amazing
Mm,
sculptures
mm.
and enjoying life,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot to life, and there's way more to life than work. And as much as you enjoy doing this type of work, it's still work at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's still other things in your life that you want to go and do. And
Yeah.
we always seem to find time to squeeze another job in, but we never find time to squeeze a bit more time for us.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you end up. I think in the last month it was. I finally got around to doing such a kind of silly little thing, but I wanted to make a pizza oven
Yeah.
at home,
Yeah.
and it was like finally got
Yeah.
around to finishing it and doing it,
Yeah.
and it was. It needs a couple of tweaks, but
Yeah.
it's like I think I made the whole thing a bit too high
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not retaining the heat properly. But it was one of those things where I was like, finally got to do that
Yeah.
I'd been intending to do since I think it was 4 years ago that
Yeah.
I was like, right, I'm going to do this, and
Yeah.
so yeah, eventually got around to it, and it, it is it really really helps
Yeah.
to have those little things that you're
Yeah.
like, I want to do this,
Yeah.
and it's just for me, and
Yeah.
it's not for anyone else. It's um, and taking the time to go and I do because I'm working physically all the time. Sometimes all I want to do is sit and play on a computer game
Yeah.
for a bit
Yeah.
because that helps me de-junk,
Yeah.
you know. And it's I kind of I sit there like with the iPad playing a game or whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm like kind of almost feeling guilty because it's the same iPad that I used to do all my emails and stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, is there anything I should be answering?
Yeah.
And it's trying to switch off from
Yeah.
stuff. That's my biggest
Yeah.
difficulty, I reckon, switching off. Yeah, because it's just constantly in the back of my head, have you done this? Maybe do this. And
So before, say, like, if in 2019, if you would you have sat and taken that time for you, or would you have come off the game and gone and done an email?
um, I it probably depends on what mood I was in.
Yeah.
It was going to either be, yeah, I'll go and do the email, or it's I'll carry on playing the game, but then punish myself mentally
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like really get myself down by feeling, oh, I shouldn't have
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the flip side of that, I've been stressing myself out in the last few weeks because an opportunity came up to tender for a big project,
Right.
and I I'd been putting off writing the tender.
Yeah.
It was just like I'm just like struggling for a bit of time at the
Yeah.
moment anyway, and any time I do get, I don't really want to be sat writing a tender.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also found myself, and this is quite unusual for me, like the ideas that I was having for the project,
Yeah.
they weren't strong.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, they weren't going to work properly.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just could not
Envision it.
envision what I wanted to do with the project. Um, and I just ended up having a chat with Liz last night. This was, and sat there and went, "I'm really struggling. These are the ideas I've had." And she had a look through the brief, and and she said, "It's like, well, but look at the timings.
Yeah.
The timings are going to mean that you are really going to have to cram it in
Yeah.
March because I'm now booked up till mid-February with other stuff coming in, which is amazing. I've,
Yeah.
never been in that position before, but she said they need this done by spring summer. They want to be opening,
Yeah.
so you're going to have to end up cramming it in
Yeah.
March, and you might have to do site visits in the meantime, and you've got to do all the installation. You've got so it wasn't just producing stuff
Yeah.
and sending them there,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's installing them, making sure they're safe for public use, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, I said to her, I said, I've been wondering whether I just need to say, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the decision I ended up making. She was like, "Yeah, don't
Yeah.
do it." So you know, for me, that was quite a big thing. Turning down the opportunity to tender for 30 grand's worth of
Yeah.
work, but actually, it's not going to do me any good, and it was stressing me out even trying to decide on the design in the first
Yeah.
place. So I'm just like,
And then it
no,
become if you did
yeah,
win the tender, it become a chore you don't want to do.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
I'm sat here smiling because it's amazing to hear that you're putting yourself first. You're setting the boundaries. You know that
yeah,
yes, that's a great opportunity, but that opportunity could bring a lot of other problems with it. And
yeah,
do you want that stress in your life?
yeah,
Do you need that stress in your life? Do you need that grief?
yeah,
You're in a very good position with work. You're booked up, and you're prioritizing your needs first, and that
yeah,
is phenomenal for you.
yeah,
So that's great work,
yeah,
Simon.
good.
It's so encouraging to hear this,
Mm,
and that people can still have a flourishing business and still say no
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah,
And it's very difficult to say no, but it's
mm,
very important to say no because we
yeah,
could, especially when you're self-employed, you can feel, yeah, but what if I don't have any work, and
yes,
what if I don't have anything come through in that
yeah,
time?
yeah,
But what if you do?
yeah, yeah. I was going to say,
Yeah.
and this is it. I'm, I'm always getting little things here and there where it's like, oh, can you do this for me? But I need it by then,
Mm.
and I know I'm solid,
Yeah,
and it's so difficult to turn
yeah,
around and say, no, I'm really sorry, we can't help you.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, well, I can, but you'll have to wait.
yeah,
And that's the other thing, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like, and it's that, like say, running your own business. It's that point of, if I say no, somebody else will do it, and you know,
yeah. But on the flip
yeah,
side of it, I have this conversation with people all the time. They say, "Yeah, but I'm saying no to work, and I'll feel like they're let down." Like, what you don't want to do is build a reputation of, "Oh, Simon does really amazing work. Get him in to do it. Get him in to do it." And people are asking you all the time, and you're letting them down all the time.
yeah,
So you don't want people to start building a reputation of saying, "Oh yeah, Sam's really good at his work, but he never turns up and he never delivers on time. And he never does this, that, and the other."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Whereas if you turn around to them like you do now and say, "I'm really sorry, I'd love to do this work, but I just don't have the capacity to do it. Can we push it back a little bit? Is there any
yeah,
movement on it?" If they say no, "No, you're right, right, fine, no problem. Maybe there might be future work." So you know where you are, and they know where they are with it. They can move forward with the project, and you might not have done the work with them this time, but they've left a positive impression with them.
yes, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it's it's that because I had this exact conversation with an electrician
yeah,
who kept booking working with estate agents. I'm like, "You're taking on too much work. You take." I'm like, he's like, no, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I said, and now he says, "Oh yeah, I've lost a couple of them contracts."
yeah,
I said, "Because you weren't turning up," and he went, "Yeah, there
yeah.
you go."
That's
But
it.
no,
Yeah,
it's great to see.
mm.
And I'm really proud of what you've achieved so far. And it's
Awesome.
great that you can sit here and talk about it. And it's although you went through a bad patch round, or it built up into January 20, where you
Yeah.
got to that point. Is that I guess is there any maybe not tips and tricks, but is there a bit of advice that you could give to people where you started to notice something wasn't quite right with how you were feeling? You're losing interest in your work,
Mm,
not eating properly, not looking after yourself
mm,
properly. Like I said before, you were walking around the workshop in a total daze a lot of the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think looking back, one of the key memories I've got of how I was feeling
Yeah,
was I had this pressure at the back of my head, and it's 'cause your brain isn't working properly.
yeah,
Essentially,
yeah,
there's an imbalance of chemicals
yeah,
with depression, and it's like I had this pressure at the back of my head. I remember I was being fairly irrational
yeah,
with my thinking. um, I was talking to myself like I was dirt
Mm.
and berating myself for, you know, it's like, come on,
Yeah.
what's going on? And and also there was there was points where, you know, I didn't want to get up, didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go into work. And even though I've, I've had some amazing projects, occasionally you get something that's what I'd consider boring in
Yeah, yeah,
comparison to,
yeah.
but
Pays the bills type of project.
yeah. But actually, you know, uh, then thinking to myself, uh, or then feeling guilty because I shouldn't be feeling like this because I've got this and I'm
Yeah,
able to make a living from doing something I
yeah,
love,
yeah,
and it's that real kind of hard point to kind of reconcile in your head of I shouldn't feel guilty. Therefore, why am I feeling like this?
yes,
There's something wrong with me.
yeah.
I'm being an idiot. I'm being this. I'm being that. And just like, you know, yeah, it's that kind of, you
When
start
you were
getting,
getting those feelings, were you suppressing them and ignoring them and just trying to
yeah,
grit your teeth and get through
yeah,
the day?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Just trying to push through.
yeah. And you're just pushing it down and
Yeah,
pushing it down
exactly.
and
Yeah,
pushing it down.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, Liz is great because she's been through
yeah,
that kind of thing before, and she's done mental health awareness courses. She works with, she's worked with numerous people, with various, uh,
degrees of mental health.
yeah, ADHD,
Yeah,
autism,
yeah,
and so she kept saying to me, I was trying to explain how I was feeling, and she kept saying to me, go to the doctors.
yeah, yeah,
You need some pills, you need
yeah,
some antidepressants. And of course, that's the other thing. It's like the point of needing something medical
yeah,
is another bit of a stigma
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
It's like, I'm all right, I don't need the
yeah,
doctors. you know,
yeah.
uh, you
I'll be
know,
all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all
yeah,
right. And then you
exactly.
think,
Yeah.
well, I don't want tablets. I don't want this. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I get asked a lot about tablets off people, and I say to them, if they work for you, 100%
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah, totally. And they did. I was on a low dosage,
Yeah,
and uh, I mean, the one thing I did find was because obviously over the past 2 years, funnily enough, the NHS have been a bit preoccupied
yeah,
with this COVID thing,
yeah,
and I didn't get any follow-up
yeah,
after initially being put on the tablets. So I know for a fact that I could still be just mindlessly taking those every day.
yeah,
And I ended up getting myself off,
yeah,
coming off them myself. There's been a couple of points, like I say, recently, I've stressed myself out with a couple of things,
yeah,
and it's almost felt like I've got to that point of like, do I need to go back on them for a bit?
yeah,
And I might do,
yeah,
which is fine.
yeah,
Um, but it's like it's starting to, I suppose it's getting to that point of learning to be aware of
yeah,
yourself that helps you to get to the point of, oh, do I need this? Or do I need to just go and chat to somebody? Do I just need some time off?
yeah,
Or, do I actually need to go and,
yeah.
you know,
Get a little bit more support.
yeah,
Yeah, it's learning to recognize those signs and then work them within your daily routine
yeah,
and understand that, okay, say like if like the chain was starting to stretch on your chainsaw, you think, oh, I need to tweak that, I need
yeah,
to tighten it, you need to do something about
yeah,
it. It's
exactly.
exactly the same with yourself. We are the most
Yeah.
important tool that we have in our
Mm,
toolkit.
yeah,
And if we don't look after ourselves and maintain ourselves, it doesn't matter what equipment you've got out there,
yeah,
it's worthless because it can't do the job because it hasn't got the person behind it to
yeah,
operate it. Or
yeah, definitely.
So since you started talking or about your mental health and coming out and letting people know about it, have you noticed people have changed the way that they are with you and spoke to you and
Um, yes, yeah, essentially. I think it's you know, the overwhelming sort of response is, hadn't realised you're
yeah,
feeling like that.
yeah,
Are you feeling better now?
yeah,
How's it going? And I yeah, because essentially I'd been off the scene as well
yeah,
in the chainsaw carving community,
yeah,
and but then it's like in the past 2 or 3 years, quite a few of my peers
yeah,
have, they've put something on Facebook of, oh, I've had a bit of a breakdown. I'm
yeah,
going offline for a bit. I
yeah,
need some rest. I need some time to recover. And just chatting to a really good mate of mine recently, and he said I got to the point of breakdown, and there's
yeah,
got to that point of burnout,
yeah,
and so I think it's attitudes are definitely different
yeah,
today than they used to be.
yeah,
Um, like kind of regardless of industry.
yeah,
Um, and I think people are a lot more understanding
yeah,
these days.
yeah,
And as long as we can kind of remember that,
yeah,
it's okay to go, do you know what? I'm not well.
yeah,
Um, the, we we kind of, or we used to laugh it up a bit more, but the Americans have been had this
yeah,
thing for years. It's like,
yeah,
oh, I'm going to go see my shrink.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And it's actually a normal part of life
yeah,
over there, to go and talk.
yeah.
But British
Stick
reserved.
up and we don't need to talk about this.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Very
I
American.
do quite a lot of bits with a woman called Lindsay. She's over in America,
Mm,
and she's although the Americans will openly go and talk about feeling and go and see psychiatrists or the shrink and things like that. She's trying to break the construction industry over there, and it is a very tough nut to break.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's really, really struggling with it, and there's a lot of um, pushback off people in the industry because they
Right.
don't want to do. I think the industry's set up a lot differently over there
Right. Okay.
than it is over here, and yeah, she's struggling with that a lot, and even though
Right.
it is more spoke about, she does some phenomenal work. She's so good,
Yeah.
and yes, but it's very different over there, I think. And I think as a whole, I think even 5 years ago, would we be sat here having this conversation?
No, probably not.
Probably not, no.
No, probably not.
Would you have done that carving for the Lighthouse Club at Hillhead? Probably not. You might have done the carving,
Yeah,
but
but
it may have gone to something else and someone else.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so COVID happened, and it's brought a lot of bad with it, but it's also brought a lot of good, and it's
yeah,
brought people's mental health to the forefront of their mind. And it got to a point, obviously, with yourself where you got to pretty much as low as a human being could go.
yeah,
But I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, both good and bad. And now you are uh, living out your life where you are bringing and working in mental health and your needs first, even before the business needs. And
yes,
because the business, it needs you and you need the business, and
yeah,
you got to work in harmony. And not only outside of work, you need you and your wife needs you and your friends need you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
definitely,
this is it.
yeah,
You've got to put yourself forward, and it's just amazing to hear, and I'm so
that's cool,
pleased we
good,
met that day at Hillhead, and
yeah,
you've
yeah,
allowed me to come down and spend some time with you in
yeah,
your workshop. It's been phenomenal, phenomenal.
yeah,
Good job I've only had half a bottle of water, but no, thank you very much for
yeah,
coming on, and
no worries.
hopefully, I don't think this will be the last time we see you in the podcast. I'm sure we'll be at a show somewhere together. I think again,
Yeah, no
and
worries.
well, you're only an hour down the road as well.
Well, exactly, yeah, 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 and uh, I'll, I think I mentioned it, and I never got round to um trying to get you in there, but I do want to introduce you to the guys who
Yeah,
were with the APF exhibition
absolutely. Yeah,
because that's but also I think I'll try and introduce you to the guys at Still
yeah,
as well
absolutely. Yeah,
because they're a really it's kind of a quite a family feel
yeah,
business.
yeah,
Um, and but I think they'd be open for doing something.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Anything like that, we're more than
um,
happy. We can go wherever we want. I'll either be in that brightly coloured transit or I'll be in my van.
yeah,
But
yeah,
thank you very much to everybody for listening to this episode. Thank you to Simon for allowing us to come down for the day. And if there's anything within the episode that has resonated with yourself, let us know in the comments below. And if there's anything you'd like us to discuss, again, let us know. You can follow us on all the social media handles, which will be below. I'll put Simon's stuff in there because you could get to see the real stuff that he does down in the workshop and out on sites. Unbelievable, big hands and big seats and Game of Thrones theme. There's a heavy Game of Thrones theme around it. And thank you very much for listening. Speak to you all soon. See you on the next one.